Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get on your feet.
Watch me light the sky!
And he scores with an unbelievable one-handed tuck-in goal. And the Blues have tied the game on a highlight reel goal.
Watch me light the sky!
Shoots. Game winner. You can bring out the Zamboni. All right, sounds good.
Hands held high, sweat dripping
Hello,
off.
loungers. We got our second episode of our podcast right up, our Lounge Rinkside Podcast. I'm Sean Michael Ditch alongside with Jason Doc Noyes, and we are your hosts. And Jason, I got a new mic today. I got a new mic for the show, so that's pretty
Sounds
cool.
a whole lot better than last time.
Yeah.
And funny how that stuff makes a difference.
Yeah, it definitely does. I definitely hear a lot better, and hopefully sound a lot better for you loungers as well. You can correct me on that if you would like. But hey, I really enjoy this mic, and I'm really excited for this next episode as well. We got a lot to talk about. As much as it's not Blues news, obviously not much happened since then, but we do got some stuff around the league to talk to you about.
Got a lot of signings. You had Nashville had a good signing. You've got guys all over the place, and I mean, I think there's still going to be moves made up till game day. You've got Alex Semin signed a 1-year, $1.1 million deal. A lot of people kind of balked at that, expecting him not to sign or it just to be a kind of rough deal for him. And hey, he may do pretty well. Had 19 points in 57 games last year, 6 goals, 13 assists. You even had what's really shocking with all the switches in New Jersey is see old Lou leave New Jersey and go to Toronto as a GM.
Can't believe that. I was really shocked when I heard that happen, because he's been with the Devils since I think the 80s, and he's just been like the GM for them. I was very surprised for him to leave New Jersey and go to Toronto, but Toronto, they might be getting pretty serious. I mean, even though they don't have Phil Kessel anymore, they might be getting serious on putting themselves back on the NHL map in terms of potential playoff team.
They need serious help up there. I mean, you think us as Blues fans are disappointed? Talk to Toronto fans.
Yeah.
And it's only there. Everybody says we're the Cubs of the NHL. I think Toronto is.
Yeah, Toronto, they're crazy about their hockey ever since they opened the Air Canada Center in 1996 or 1997. I can't remember which year, but more on that later. They have sold out every single game, maybe even including preseason, but every single regular season game they've sold out every year, every season until this season, toward the end when they were eliminated from playoff contention. Maybe it's just the fans are fed up. And you think we have a rough Blues fans, these diehard Toronto fans who know their hockey, who worship hockey. They're just in a tough spot right now, and not being able to see their team perform maybe up to its standards, or maybe the ownership maybe not being as consistent with the fans and what they're saying as much as what they're doing. But the Toronto Maple Leafs fans, they want their hockey, and they want to be back in the playoffs. Only been in the playoffs last time that was in 2013, the lockout shortened season. And prior to that, I think it was 2002, the last time they were in there. But they want their hockey, they want their playoff hockey, and they want to be back they want to be a team that is, you want to go in Toronto, and they want to be the team where you go into Toronto saying, oh my goodness, we have to play the Maple Leafs. They don't want to be the laughing stock of the NHL anymore.
Well, and don't forget, Mike Babcock's was hired as the coach this year too.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was a talk of possibly coming to St. Louis. That didn't happen, and he was rumored to go to Buffalo. I think they acted like the deal was almost all done, and then they announced he was going to Toronto. So you may see that team do a severe 180, if not this season. I give them a season or two to get all their ducks in a row, and they could be a major powerhouse.
Absolutely. Don't forget Mike Babcock took the Anaheim Mighty Ducks to the Stanley Cup final in his first year in 2002-2003 season. Well, they had Paul Kariya, they had J.S. Shiger, they had Steve Ruchin, Rob Niedermeyer, Steve Thomas, all those players. But, at the same time, that was his first year coach, and a team that hadn't reached the playoffs since 1997, 1998, against, ironically, the Detroit Red Wings, who they ended up sweeping in 2002-2003. Babcock obviously has been a great coach since his start in the NHL. But who knows? This will be his third team in the NHL coaching. He just might do the same thing what he did with the Anaheim Mighty Ducks at that time. Like you said, Doc.
It's going to be an all-star event up there. And
Absolutely.
I'm curious to watch what Toronto does and what I think they're going to be a re-energized team this year.
Definitely will be re-energized. I have a few friends that live up in Toronto, and a few I actually work with down here in Florida. They said they went crazy about when Babcock was signed. They found out Lou Lamoriello was signed the other day, and I talked to a few of my coworkers and friends, and they were just like, "Oh my goodness, this could be the turnaround. We might just get back to the playoffs." And I'm glad as Blues fans, we're not in that boat where we're hoping we get into the playoffs. But we should always take for granted that. We always take for granted that playoffs are a given in our hockey town of St. Louis. But you know what? Maybe this year, especially with Dallas upgrading as well in our division, the playoffs shouldn't be a given. And I hope, and me personally, I hope that the Blues maybe not necessarily become a team that is expected to win the division, or even end up in a top 1 or 2 seed in our division, maybe a 3 or 4, even the wild card. I'd rather have all that pressure on the other team and necessarily have games 3 and 4 at home personally, because I believe all the potential to steal a momentum in the series could be in games 3 or 4, because those could be definitely momentum swinging games in the series. Granted, you don't have game 7 at home, but it makes a victory so much more sweeter, and I'd rather have the Blues be expected to lose and win instead of being expected to win and lose, because it's a lot. The past 3 seasons, we've been expected to win and lose, and we know it's not fun.
You know what? Put us in the middle of the pack with points and all that kind of stuff. Don't hype us up. Just let us play the game that we play. Take that pressure off of they're expecting us to win a division and do all this stuff. Just let the team play. Don't give them that pressure, because maybe that's part of our issue. And I mean, this is going to be a fun schedule. They actually just announced today that the NBC Sports Network will carry 12 of the Blues games this year. The total of NBC Sports Network will televise 93 games. And out of 12 of those being the Blues is pretty decent.
Absolutely. I think the first game is against Tampa Bay. When the Blues are at home against Tampa Bay, I believe that's the first game that they play on national TV. But if you look at the schedule, the Blues' first game of the season is against the Edmonton Oilers. Now, a lot of people said, "Oh, this is going to be an easy win." Not necessarily. Edmonton's got very upgraded. They got the new coach in Todd McClellan, who I really respect ever since he became coach of the Sharks. He knows how to win. He knows how to get teams deep. And with his Sharks teams, he got them to the back-to-back conference finals. Granted, they lost to Vancouver and Chicago, flip-flopped, vice versa, in the same years, 2010 and 2011. But not Dan Bosma, Todd McClellan, I respected him because we did play against his team against San Jose in 2012. We did end up beating them 4-1, but the guy is as humble, and he's a good leader. He's a good leader for a young team that's healthy, and of course, who's got the number 1 draft pick overall from last year, 17-year-old Connor McDavid.
And yeah, I mean, was allowed to play in the OHL a year younger than they usually allow it. I mean, unless you're putting up crazy numbers and you're being scouted by everybody, that's not the kind of not the kind of thing they do. It's only the third time they've done it. Tavares and Ekblad were the first two. So I mean, that in itself, your high rank won the gold medal with the Canadian under 18 and under 20. I mean, just he went to the Oilers prospects thing and put in just goal after goal. I think he had 5 total in one game.
Yeah.
I mean, just he's sick and God, I mean, that's going to be it could be a very interesting home opener. Or our first game against Edmonton could be a very interesting thing to see if Connor McDavid's out there, and if he is, how the Blues respond to him.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. That no player has been sought after so much in the draft since Sidney Crosby in 2005. They think that he's the next one. You don't see many players like him come around the generation. Of course, they all happen to be Canadian as well, which kind of a bummer to the American players. But Jack Eichel, he's going to be with the Buffalo Sabres, and he could be the, I'd say necessarily the Alex Ovechkin type, where he's skilled, but he's also very physical, or maybe like a Brandon Shanahan. Maybe not as big as Brandon Shanahan, but he could definitely be a player like Brandon Shanahan as well. Jack Eichel.
I just hope the biggest concern with these young guys, and we've seen it with some of ours, is the pressure to perform, especially the young age. Is, do you burn them out? Do you get them hurt? Or are they not ready for that pressure? And then you lose them and it's over.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you don't want to lose. You don't want to lose them, but you also don't want to pressure them too much. If the kid wants to play, I'd say let him play personally. That's my opinion. But at the same time, when do you tighten the leash?
Yeah, because I mean, thinking back to Eric Johnson, he was supposed to be this uber duper superstar, and one fall out of a golf cart, and you see where that went.
Yeah, exactly. An ACL tear. And, well, he was the consented player at that time to go get in the draft. There was no question about it. He had the most potential. Obviously, he needed to mature a lot, but the onus is on him for that. And I don't believe that's the St. Louis Blues' fault that he didn't mature mentally instead of on the ice. But look who we got out of the trade. We got Kevin Shattenkirk, so I'm not complaining.
Oh no, not at all. We definitely improved, but I mean, you just really don't know. A lot of people are saying that that McDavid will be better than Crosby, and that could be exactly right. I mean, Gretzky's saying he's going to be the next great thing, and Gretzky's definitely somebody that would know. But what can we really expect out of him? I mean, do we expect 50 goals in his first season, or is he going to be roughed up a little bit? Because you figure a lot of the teams are kind of I don't want to say headhunting him, but him being a young guy, they're going to welcome him to the NHL in as rough as way possible.
I don't think he'll score 50 goals. It's tough to score 50 goals in the league today. The last player to score 50 goals, I believe, Alex Ovechkin. Or I know Steven Stamkos of the Tampa Bay Lightning had 62 a few years ago. But it's just tough to score 50 goals in this league. It's a much more faster game. There's not as much space as there was when Gretzky or Brett Hall played to score that many goals. And that might be due to the instigator rule, that might not be. But I think he could definitely get up to 30 goals in his first season. If he surpasses 40, then more power to him. But I really don't expect him to score 50 goals. If he does, prove me wrong. I will admit it, loungers. You can hashtag that, whatever. If I get that wrong, that Sean Ditch got it wrong, that he wouldn't get 50 goals. But I just don't see it happening.
Well, and he's got a solid build, 6'1", 194 pounds. So he's not a small boy. So he's going to come in and fit in right with the the rest of the NHL. I'm just going to be curious to see how he handles that level of expected stardom and just the pressure of the NHL. I mean, yeah, he's shown he can put up big numbers, but can he do it in the elite league?
Exactly. And to compare him to Gretzky was 5'10", 180 pounds. And McDavid is so much faster than Gretzky. If you've seen the tapes of him, like he blew past a defenseman in a drill during that training camp like you talked about. Did you ever see that video, Doc?
Yeah, I mean, God, it skates circles around most anybody.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think that's really going to make it's going to make for some fun hockey watching and a lot of ESPN real highlights.
Oh, definitely. No question about it. It'll be interesting to see how he transitions to the NHL. And ironically enough, his first game is against the St. Louis Blues, and his first game at home is against the St. Louis Blues again. So we can look forward to those two games. I think Blues fans not only want to tune in those two games, especially because the Blues obviously open up against the Edmonton Oilers, but as well, as well as if you tune in, you're going to see possibly the new face of the NHL in not Jack Eichel, Connor McDavid. Now, Jack Eichel. What do you think what type of season he'll have? He could be the same thing. He could rack up 20 goals and maybe 200 penalty minutes. Who knows?
He's going to be another one that's going to be fun to watch. But out of the two, I mean, with especially coming in rookies. Looking at Calder already, and I mean it's scary to think of end of season awards before the seasons. We're at the end of July here, but I mean there's talk of McDavid walking away with it, but Eichel maybe too. I mean like I said, it's just when you haven't seen him in training camp and stuff. I mean the prospect camps are one thing. But putting them in training camp and then once those preseason games hit, that's when you can really start to see how those guys are going to shake out.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fun to watch both of them. And I suggest everybody keep your eyes on both of them.
Yeah.
And like you said with the schedule, we'll see the Oilers Thursday, October 8th, and then we see them again Thursday, October 15th. So we've got them a week apart right at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and you know what I think? It just hit me while in my mind while you were talking, Doc, is that I personally believe McDavid is more of a skill player than Jack Eichel is. Jack Eichel, I believe, is definitely more physical. And it's funny enough because Western Conference, where McDavid is in, is known to be much more physical than the skilled Eastern Conference. If you think about that, you're putting a physical guy into the Eastern Conference and a really skilled guy in the Western Conference. Now, how's that going to work? Are they going to be physical on McDavid? Is Eichel going to try to match the speed of the game, the speed of the Eastern Conference game with physicality? It's going to be interesting to see.
And we'll only see them again. We won't see them again until right at the end of the season, Wednesday, March 16th.
Well, they obviously haven't
they're
heard of
in
every new
Edmonton. The only 3 times we see the Oilers, 2 right at the beginning of the season and the 1 right at the end. So it'll be interesting just to see the progression through the season of both teams.
Absolutely. Well, that brings us to our next point. We're going to talk about some of the Blues games that you fans can look forward to, you loungers as well. We look forward to as well, Doc. We got obviously the first game of the season against Edmonton, and other games obviously Halloween night, a Saturday night in St. Louis against the Minnesota Wild.
And we're looking for payback with the Wild, and that's our second game too. Our first Saturday game, Saturday, October 10th.
Yeah.
They play at Minnesota, so just being the second game of the season, they are looking for payback after last year's playoff elimination.
Yeah, the Blues are going to be looking for some payback as well in both those games. If you go forward to November, we're going to stay in October as well. We got the 27th. We're going to play against the Tampa Bay Lightning. I know there are a few loungers who are Tampa Bay Lightning fans. I know Lana Sutton is one of them as well. She's a Tampa Bay season ticket holder and an admin of the Blues Lounge as well. because she lives
That
down in
game
Tampa.
that game will also be on NBCSN, our first NBCSN game.
Yeah, that should be an interesting game. It's obviously we played them twice last year, and the Blues. The Blues didn't play a very good game in the first game against them, but Elliott kept them in the game. Tarasenko snipe show and on Ben Bishop, and then the beautiful goal by Jaden Schwartz at the end of it. It was it was like a game that we really shouldn't have won, but it was a sweet victory because you didn't deserve to win. At the same time, you did still win the game.
Sure, and some of those make for the most interesting. And will Ben Bishop be back at 100%? He tore that groin pretty good during the playoffs. Will he
Left game too?
Figure he's had plenty of time to rest, but will he be back to 100%?
I believe he will be. There's no question. He's definitely going to want to come back because if you have a healthy Ben Bishop in the finals against Chicago, who knows what could have happened? He could have definitely shut the door on the Blackhawks.
Oh, it'd have been a totally different series.
Totally different series. And if Steven Stamkos actually played to his potential in that series, no question, he would have been a better asset to them as well. Now we're going to move to November. And we got the first two games in November. We got 3rd and 4th, respectively. At home, the first on the 3rd against the LA Kings. And we all know we don't like the LA Kings, do we, Doc?
No. But I'd say we've done much better against them in years past. We've learned our lessons from them and have shown that we actually can play their type of game, which makes me a lot less nervous compared to some of the teams.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah, absolutely. And then the next night, obviously against the Chicago Blackhawks, defending Stanley Cup champions. Yeah, how are we gonna suit up against them? We won the season series the past 2 seasons against them. But they're still the Chicago Blackhawks, and we love to play them. We hate losing to them, and we love beating them. So it'd be an interesting game. It's always an interesting game when we play against the Chicago Blackhawks as well.
And in Chicago, is that Wednesday, November 4th game, and being at home the night before, 2 back-to-back games. And I don't know if Chicago has a game the night before or not, so that could play into that a little bit.
Absolutely. Blues got to have a fast start in that game because by the end of that game in Chicago, which I think is on Wednesday Night Rivalry on NBCSN.
Yep. Yes, it is.
Excuse me. Yeah, this should be an interesting game. And, of course, the next game that week is Saturday night, November 7th. Excuse me, in Nashville, Tennessee. And a lot of Blues fans love to travel down to Nashville, especially on a Saturday night.
That's a quick road game for anybody that wants to go see that. I'd love to at least make one of those this year. We'll see if I can make my way down there, but I know that's a fun atmosphere, and it's always nice to see when they pan the crowd how many Blues fans are there.
My roommate that just moved out of my apartment, he's moving up to Knoxville, Tennessee to get married to his fiance, and his fiance, who's grown up near obviously Nashville, Tennessee, she's been a Predators fan for most of her life, and he moved in with me, and I moved in with him actually, and he always asked me, like, dude, why are you so crazy about hockey and stuff like that? Because he never watched hockey before. He's like, dude, it's just a bunch of guys skating around for a puck and trying to score. He knew nothing about hockey, and I tried to show him a game, and he's just like, no, it's not interesting. I'm not gonna watch it. Well, he goes up to visit his fiance, and she takes him to a game, and he texted me pictures at the game. They were playing against Washington Capitals, where Barry Trotz's first game back in Nashville after being let go. But he said at the end of the game he was in love with it. He's screaming at the top of his lungs, and he bought a Nashville Predators shirt, and so he's pretty happy. Him and I made a promise when I moved back up to St. Louis that we're always going to catch a game once a year, and whether it's going to be in Nashville or in St. Louis together. So I'm hoping to go down to Nashville this season because obviously him just getting married and moving there, I don't expect him to make a trip to St. Louis. So I'm going to try my best to see him in Nashville, because there's another game, I think it's in January or in February, where the Blues are in Nashville on a Saturday afternoon. So that'll be a good time to go for Blues fans as well.
Oh, sure. Those are and I highly suggest. I mean, we can try and put some kind of a trip together. I know just lots of fans put different bus trips or whatever together to go down to those kind of games. That would be a phenomenal one, is to show the Blue Note big and proud in Nashville.
Oh man, I've been on a few bus trips for hockey games. Actually, when I was down here living in Florida right now, Lana actually invited me to go to a Tampa Bay Lightning game in Florida at the Florida Panthers place, and being on a bus for 5.5 hours there and back with a bunch of crazy hockey fans, it's a lot of fun. If somebody in the lounge wants to start that, you're definitely more than welcome to. I know personally, I want to see if I can get an Amtrak train to Chicago, because the Blues play Chicago on a Sunday evening in January 24th. I want to get that one checked out, see if some Blues fans want to take an Amtrak train all the way to Chicago for that game in the evening. I know tickets are going to be expensive for that game because it's in Chicago, but I looked up Amtrak prices. They're like $41 round trip. That's not bad. That's affordable.
Yeah, but your Blackhawks ticket will be $400.
Yeah, probably something like that as well. Because I have a friend that lives in Chicago. We used to work together down here at Disney, and she says she wants to go to a Blues Blackhawks game with me, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to too. But I've been to 3 away games as a Blues fan. 3 away games, 2 in Tampa Bay, and 1 in. I drove all the way to Fort Lauderdale to see them play Florida last season, and I tell you what, it didn't really matter if the Blues won or lost the game. Just being there, supporting your team, and not your home rink, just being there is awesome. In terms of, you're just there and you're one of the odd men out, and it really does. Obviously, you want to see your team win. When you see them at home, of course you want to see your team win because you're at home. You want to see them win, but just being there for a away game, of course you want to see them win, but just being there is amazing. And Doc, have you ever been to a away game?
No, unfortunately, I've only made it to St. Louis right now. I hope to do a couple road trips, one in Nashville and one out to Columbus. We've got some friends out in Columbus, and I've heard the atmosphere at there is phenomenal.
With the cannon especially, I wouldn't want to be near that cannon at all. That thing's insanely loud when they score.
This schedule's, it's very interesting how it's laid out. As we see the Blackhawks in some months. I mean, we're going to see them November the 4th, see them again Saturday, November 14th at home. We've got the Red Wings November 21st. Lots of Blue Jackets games in there, but we don't see the Hawks at all in December.
Nope.
We don't see them again until Saturday, January 24th, going to be in Chicago. So that'll, depending on where the points and stuff are, that's going to be an interesting game. Going to see, again, we get into February. We don't see them at all. We have a game in Nashville. We got Lightning. We've got the Kings, the Stars, and the Sharks all in February. And then getting into March, we see the Blackhawks March the 9th be at home, a Wednesday night game, another NBCSN game, and round out March with against Colorado. Capitals on Saturday, March 26th, and then Tuesday, March 29th with the Avalanche. And then we wrap up our last 5 games in April. Bruins on April 1st, the Avalanche on the 3rd, the Coyotes on the 4th, the 7th, April 7th gets the Blackhawks in Chicago. And then our last game, which could be an interesting one as well, depending on points and everything, is we're at home against the Capitals for the very last game of the season.
Gotta collect all those points late in the year as well, because you don't ever know where you're going to be in terms of the standings. There's one season series I'm looking forward to, and I had it on here. There we go. It's in December, December 26th and the 27th. The home and home in Dallas. We start at home in Dallas against Dallas and go on 27th. It's a Saturday and Sunday. And I notice a lot of Blues fans like to go down to Dallas as well. So that'll be an interesting 48 hours as well, because Dallas is revamped. They've got Patrick Sharp. They got a veteran coach in Lindy Ruff, and they got also Johnny Oduya and Niemi now.
Yeah, and Dallas is one of the teams you just don't count out until it's over with, and they'll always be a surprise. And the teams need the points early. I mean, December, you're almost to the halfway point of the season, and you're gonna hope to get every point you can, and hopefully we can take 4 points in that series.
Yeah, with that game against at the end of the year where Schwartz had the hat trick against Dallas when we won 7-5, that crazy hockey game, Dallas needed those 2 points, and they didn't get them. You, obviously, like you said, you can't count them out until they're officially mathematically out, because they, even just by missing it just a little bit, they made the playoffs the year before against the Anaheim Ducks. But they got the skill, and they definitely have the coaching to get there. And now with the new revamped players from the Hawks with the Sharp and Oduya additions, they're definitely going to be a team that's willing to take the next step. And a team that surprised everybody last year, Winnipeg. Blues.
Yes.
Oh man, when the Blues played Winnipeg at the end of the year, got the ref job game. I like to call that one. Man, you could. I was watching. You'll go ahead. I'm sorry.
And say, and with Jackman scoring the craziest goal ever.
Yeah, Bear Jackman. When he didn't score a lot of goals, but when he did score, they were huge, huh?
Especially just the oddball of that one.
Oh yeah.
But you're right. The Jets are going to come huge. We're at the end of the season, but the thing is, they were solid all year, and if they manage that well enough coming into this season, you better count them being in the playoffs, and it being just could be a very interesting run for them. But I think to kind of wrap all this stuff up, that we need watch the guys the first 10 games of the season, see what kind of mindset they're in, see how they're reacting to things. If they're kind of comfortable and settled in, I think it'll make for a very good season for us. But if they're very, I don't want to say confused, but if they're very disorganized, their line combinations aren't working, I think it could be a very rough start to the year, and could mean, I don't want to say disastrous results, but could make it very difficult for us in the long run in this next season.
Yeah, hopefully they do not start out rough, like you said. At least have an above 500 record in the first 7 games. That's as far as I can expect from them, to have at least a 500 record in the first 10 games. Anything else would be anything less and would be disappointing, especially. At least 500, 700. You want to at least get a good record to get started at the beginning of the year with those points early in the year, like you said. Well, Loungers, I hope you enjoyed this episode of our second episode, Doc. We got 2 down now. How about that?
We're getting good, and wanted to remind everybody too, we don't have an official date yet, but we're looking at a November date for a possible live show and a lounge outing. We'll give you more details as we've got things planned. So we definitely think it'll be a fun time. Do a live show from there, maybe even use Periscope to do videos to people that can't make it to the bar or to wherever we do this at. And we want to make this even bigger. But please comment on the podcast, comment in the lounge, let us know how we're doing, what you want us to talk about, what changes we can make, because we love to hear what you guys think and what we should do to make this podcast even better.
Absolutely. You folks, you loungers, are the reasons we are doing this. We want to hear what you have to say and what you want to hear, what you want us to say as well. We love your feedback. Comment below. We definitely are doing this for you. And if it's going to be a live lounge outing, Doc, I'm assuming Johnny's going to cover everybody with all the whiskey that he owns, right?
I would hope so, or at least buy rounds for everybody.
I'd appreciate it. I know that for sure, and I'm sure every Blues lounger out there would appreciate it as well. But thank you, Blues fans. We appreciate it, loungers. Definitely comment below. For Jason, Doc, Noyes, my name is Sean Ditch. Have a great rest of your day, folks, and let's go Blues.
Watch me let the sky